Welcome to Riddle Recaps. Today I'll talk the action drama movie Big Brother. After years of provider inside the American military, Henry has lower back to his place of origin of Hong Kong. He visits Tak Kai Secondary School to start his coaching profession. The faculty important does not want to present him the process, mentioning that he lacks teaching and joy. However, he's hired after handing the principal advice from a better ranking legitimate. The principal tells Henry that the magnificence he might be teaching is the worst inside the entire college. He may be paid a low salary and need to work lengthy hours. Henry accepts the job with a grin on his face. Henry walks into his magnificence on the morning of his first day of faculty to locate it in complete disorder. He says good morning to his class to get their attention, however he's overlooked by the complete class. One student is using a transportable range to make ramen and promote it to his classmates. Another is slumbering on his desk and someone is even playing video games. After failing to get their interest, he stops attempting and walks around the schoolroom speaking to each of the antisocial kids. He warns the students who are ingesting that there may be too much sodium inside the ramen. Then Henry processes a student named ZFA, who's practicing the ukulele, so he helps him in movements on. He cautions a young gamer about the radiation he would possibly get from spending all day staring at a screen, then finishes by way of yelling good morning inside the snoozing children ear. Finally, he has the magnificence's interest, so he writes his name and speak to quantity at the board and introduces himself. His horrific handwriting makes the scholars snicker and that they use his phone range to call him throughout class. The kids once again pay no interest to him and pass lower back to what they have been doing before he arrived. Finally, losing his patience, Henry units off the room's fireplace sprinkler the use of a rubber band and a few chalk. The scholars spread out to avoid getting soaked, calling him loopy. Now that he has their complete attention, he shouts, "Welcome to my magnificence." After elegance 5, low-scoring students collect inside the sports activities device room to smoke. Jack, the organization's leader, has an overwhelm on a grade student in a special elegance. When the others see him searching at her picture, they start making fun of him. The organization has a problem with the wealthy college students at the basketball crew. They enter the deliver room and instantly communicate approximately how bad they sent from smoking. Then they bully Jack for being negative. Later, Jack and the group watch the basketball crew exercise while status close by. Jack purposely drops a bottle on the courtroom, causing the group megastar participant to journey over it and hurt his arm. The college students laugh, however English teacher Miss Liang punishes them by making them write long papers later. Certainly one of them palms in the paper, but he's surely simply pranking her with the aid of putting a disgusting malicious program in her. When she is going to study the writing, she freaks out and spills water all over her table, which makes all of them snicker at her and run away. In the subsequent scene, Henry walks toward his classroom wherein the students have organized a bucket of water to dump on him when he walks in. However, he's able to push the falling bucket away due to his quick reflexes. The college students who have been waiting to chortle at him are left shocked. Henry, who is conscious that Jack smokes, asks for a percent of cigarettes from him. Jack fingers him the percent without asking what he plans to do with it. Henry then asks CFA to listing the 3 additives of a cigarette. He answers efficaciously, so Henry allows him to skip class for the day. Everyone begins to pound on their desks, stressful that they need a risk to skip class too. He draws a cigarette on the board, then asks them what the different elements of a cigarette are. Even if Henry mentions the negative impact it has on their fitness, he is aware of they might not take him critically. Instead, he interrogates them on the outcomes of smoking and explains how tar accumulates inside the lungs. They honestly take note of the teacher and show an interest in gaining knowledge of for the first time. When the bell jewelry, he civilly asks for the students to go back the cigarettes in the cafeteria. The basketball team's captain trips Bruce, considered one of Jack's pals. As a result, tensions upward thrust and a fight breaks out among the two organizations. They ruin the place by way of throwing food and tables at each other. Later, Henry learns that 5 of his college students were given transient suspensions for beginning the altercation. Henry intervenes while he sees Jack combating someone in the hallway. When requested to relax, Jack argues that the school is biased towards him because he's bad and the wealthy students are in no way disciplined. Henry makes a decision to examine greater approximately the 5 college students and spends the rest of the college day reading via their documents. First up is ZFA, a Pakistani immigrant son who experiences racism on an ordinary foundation. He is often accused of stealing with the aid of the law enforcement officials in his location due to his skin coloration. Henry additionally reads that SFA's one and most effective dream is to make a reciting as a musician. A lady named Den is the second one scholar. Since the day she became born, she were unhappiness to her father, who had usually desired a son. Den has spent her complete existence attempting to earn her father's respect. She went as a ways as cutting her hair brief and playing with toy automobiles to provide the impact that she turned into a boy. Even though her father spoils her younger brother, her father pays little to no interest to her. Then there are Bruce and Chris, who came about to be brothers. Their father became an alcoholic after their mom left them as children to be with a man. Growing up, the brothers' most effective source of aid became one another. While Chris was working tough on the grocery keep to provide for the circle of relatives, Bruce had grown to be obsessed on video games to get away reality. Lastly, Henry cannot discover any statistics about Jack's circle of relatives records. The next scene opens on Jack skipping college to be at his job as a waiter in a restaurant. An MMA gambler named Jan Young and his associates have arrived on the restaurant. Jack steals Jan Young's fancy lighter. While he's distracted watching a horse race that he guessed cash on, Y reaches for his lighter and realizes it is lacking, however sees Jack taking walks away within the distance. As Jan Young is leaving, he strategies Jack and asks him if he has a lighter. The scene cuts to Jan Young's guys beating Jack up. While he tests Jack's ID, realizing that he is a student, he gives him a task as their food shipping guy and gives him a few cash. Meanwhile, Henry will pay a visit to Zoo FFA and discovers that the younger man is strolling from his father and his friends. After they capture him stealing a price ticket, he to begin with allows him, but after gaining knowledge of why he is being pursued, he sides with the daddy. The two of them then determine to spend a while at the bridge. There is a Avenue band performing, so Henry encourages Zoo FFA to move Carrie out. He points to Jan, tells him, "If I can do it, you could do it." Henry starts making a song, then ultimately receives ZFA to overcome his worry and carry out in the front of humans. Meanwhile, Bruce's and Chris's father arrives domestic overdue as regular and demands that they go buy him alcohol. The brothers say they aren't going to get him any, so he yells at them to get out of his residence. The following day, Henry talks to his father and correctly persuades him to go into rehab for the sake of his youngsters. While this is taking place, Denton's dad brings her a makeup kit and tells her to behave like a girl, for as soon as Denton cannot stand how he continuously puts her down. She places makeup on her younger brother to make her dad mad earlier than snatching the automobile key and sneaking out of the house. Luckily, Henry intervenes just in time to prevent her from riding away. In her father's vehicle, he warns her about the consequences of riding without a license and offers an opportunity. They're going to a move kart track for a few friendly opposition. Henry additionally asks her dad to return over and challenges him to race his daughter. During the race, both the father and daughter display no mercy for each other, and they grow to be going off of the tune. Suddenly, a vehicle slams into Dion's go-kart. Her father sobs in sorrow over his daughter's demise, yelling about how an awful lot he loves her. After a few crying, it is found out that Denon survived the crash and heard the entirety her father stated. The next day in Elegance, Bruce and Chris are assigned to accompany a small group to a sober living facility, a good way to conduct an interview with a former alcoholic. When they discover the person they need to interview is their father, they're stunned. The students want to realize whilst and why he started consuming. The man explains that his spouse changed into the love of his existence, however she deserted him while he became at his lowest. As an end result, he started out to drink and overpassed his two youngsters. The guy apologizes to Bruce and Chris without revealing to all and sundry that they are his sons. The brothers are left in tears once they analyze the horrible reality approximately his drinking hassle. Later, Jack has began operating for MMA gambler Y Young. There's a big combat among John Jones and Stephen Thompson happening quickly, and Y Ying has wagered a massive amount of cash at the match. He explains how he instructed John Jones to lose the fight on cause so he may want to hit the jackpot on his bed. However, John Jones informed him he would not do it, so Jen Ying desires Jack to drug the fighter's drink before the suit with a view to assure he loses the combat. Although Jack is hesitant, he eventually agrees to take the provide the day of the combat. Jen Ying sponsors the fighter that he wants to lose. Jack places tablets in the fighter's drink, however he is stuck whilst he is doing it before he can say Yang Ying hired him to do it. He is crushed and locked in a locker a while later. Henry indicates up and asks the opponents if they have seen his scholar. The men tell him to go home, however Jack pees his pants inside the locker, then begins yelling for help. When Henry realizes he's being trapped, he assaults them and without difficulty annihilates them. It receives a little more intense whilst the warring parties step it up and slam him right into a bench. But Henry hits him within the again of the top, knocking him out. Another guy moves him from in the back of, but he speedy flips him over, then pushes his face inside the pee. Henry defeats the guys one after the other, then body slams someone into the lockers. This makes John Jones, the professional fighter scheduled to combat that night, livid enough to fight Henry himself. John Jones immediately overpowers Henry and body slams him, but Henry grabs a broken piece of a bench and hits him in the side of the head. Henry smears a cream in his eyes, blurring his imaginative and prescient and giving him the higher hand. In the cease, Henry is slammed to the ground and it appears that John Jones has won, but quickly after he falls subconscious on a locker, putting an quit to the chaos. Later, Henry goes to the medical institution to get his accidents dealt with. Jack attempts to expose John Young for rigging the combat, however is silenced with the aid of him as he talks his way out of it. The video of the fight has gone viral, making Henry emerge as referred to as the person who defeated an expert boxer to keep his student. The different college students start to take word of him and in the end come to appreciate him, finding it hard to believe that he is one of these sturdy fighter. They even get up to greet him while he enters the study room, which they never did before. In a flashback, other teachers tell memories about how when Henry became a pupil, he used to play pranks on his classmates. At one occasion, he threw water balloons at a pupil who was performing at the piano for the mother and father of college students. After this, the scholar chased him all the way down to combat for ruining his performance. Henry ended up knocking over a statue and breaking his hand after being suspended for the combat. He was compelled to take a flight to go stay within the United States. Students start paying attention to Henry's lectures from that point forward, and they put in more attempt to prepare for the large exam. Coming up, everyone is doing first-rate besides for Bruce, who has developed a tablet dependency. It turns out that even as Chris resorted to playing video games, Bruce began abusing tablets to escape the anxiety at home. He plays horribly on the exercise front examination because of his loss of attention. Henry says he's going to help him improve, but Bruce's despair best deepens in the next scene. Bruce is seen overdosing on capsules, then proceeds to stand on his balcony prepared to jump, which he sooner or later does. When he arrives at the health center, he falls right into a coma. The media spins the story to make it appear to be the school and Henry are guilty for Bruce's movements. After interviewing Henry, the Board of Education officers made the choice to revoke his coaching certificates as he prepares to go away. The scholars follow carefully behind, pleading with him to live. Despite their disappointment over his absence, they're determined to do nicely on the upcoming test in order that he may be capable of get his process returned. From that point on, they labored 2 times as difficult to show the teaching board that Henry is an amazing teacher. On the day of the exam, Jack and his classmates obtain a set text from Henry instructing them to assemble in the faculty foyer 1 hour previous to the start of the test. When the scholars come collectively, they examine that Jan Ying impersonated Henry and is the only who sent them the textual content. He plans to hold them locked in the school to save them from arriving on the examination room in time. It is discovered that he desires all of the college students to fail the test horribly so the faculty will shut down forever and he should buy the land. After Henry receives to high school, he learns of Jen Young's plan. Henry throws a basketball at the face of an unsuspecting guy, starting a fight with all of them. He tells the scholars he's going to teach them about self-defense, then starts off evolved using his incredible preventing abilities to take every guy out. He karate kicks greater of them into some tables, then throws a cooking utensil in one and every of their butts. After setting the students free, he fights off each single one of Jen Young's guys so one can guard the kids. He keeps fending the guys off, assisting the scholars get away to make it to their study in time. After a quick battle, Henry and Jan Ying manage to break out and make their manner to the testing room. They start combating every other inside the hall while Wei Ying yells at Henry to break his different hand too. This is where it's discovered that Yin Yang is the equal boy Henry had keep water balloons, that is a young infant. Since John Yang's hand become broken, he neglected out on a primary tune opposition he become practicing for. He hasn't performed the piano once since the incident, and he accuses Henry of ruining his dream. Despite Henry's satisfactory efforts to reason with him, he continues to attack. They battle for control of a knife at the same time as they combat. At last, Henry has given a chance to kill him, however he backs out at the ultimate 2D and stabs himself rather. He apologizes for what he did when he was younger, after which turns to go away. The students arrive on the checking out place on time and finish the examination a quick time later. All of them have passed the assessments with terrific grades. John Ying alternatives up the piano again, happy to enjoy what he used to like again after a rapid restoration. Bruce says he plans to expose up for the doorway exam the subsequent 12 months. The nexter, Henry has his job lower back coaching a brand new institution of college students. The schoolroom is over again in chaos, so Henry sets off the hearth sprinklers once more. Thank you for watching. Please click one of the films at the display screen now and subscribe to join the Riddle Recap Zone family.